going to call the meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, February 24, 2025 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. I don't have any special announcements today. We do have an executive session scheduled at the end of this meeting. We will come to open session only to adjourn. We will not conduct business after the executive session. Just a reminder that our next meeting is on Monday, March 10. That's 2 weeks from today. Is there any announcements? Okay. So the first item on the agenda is a public hearing. We have a request from Robert Rondo for a 6-month seasonal trailer permit for recreational purposes to locate a trailer on 91 3rd Street. The property is shown on Assessor's Map 76A, Lot 69J. So this is the transfer, it's not a transfer of the license. This was a trailer on this lot previously, and this is a new owner. So Paula, is the paperwork in order?
Yes.
So the petitioners are here if anybody has any questions for them. Do you wanna?
Could we just verify that if it's changed? Same layout, same.
Same layout.
If there's no other questions, I'll move it.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the 6-month permit. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that has anything they want to say? Anyone from the board? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Congratulations, you're all set. So you're all set except for whatever Paula tells you need to do. All right, thank you. The second item we have on the agenda is for a request from Michael Ashley for a 6-month seasonal trailer permit for recreational purposes to locate a trailer on 126 South Shore Street. The property is shown on Assessor's Map 76A, lots 125 and 126. This is another one that was recently sold. There was a trailer on the lot, and this is a new owner. This is, I guess I'm going to ask Mr. Lett's question. Is this the same layout?
Same type layout, yep.
And is the paperwork in order? Okay. The petitioners are here if anybody has any questions for them.
Just noted that the other one had a composting toilet. This one's self-contained with the contract. I'll move it.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Is there any comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Enjoy the trailer. Under 2A, we have a request to approve a common victualler application of Till Dusk Cafe and Bakery at 549 American Legion Highway, Caitlin Miranda, owner-manager. This was previously the Countryside Market on 177. Are the petitioners here? No? Is the paperwork in order?
Yes.
Yeah, they still may need some Board of Health approval, but as far as the Select Board's filing, they're all set.
Okay.
Just so the public knows, that's where the market was before. What was the name of it?
It was Countryside.
Countryside, that's right, okay. I'll move it.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the common victualler, subject to the Board of Health regulations. Do we do it subject to Board of Health, or the Board of Health does separate?
They're gonna have their own control
Of
engine.
their own control?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is there any discussion? Anything from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Congratulations. When are you opening? You don't know yet. You have to get the board, have to talk to the Board of Health first. Well, good luck. Thank you. We have a request from Police Chief Christopher Dunn, although we have Deputy Chief here to join us, to appoint Tristan Costa as a full-time police officer contingent upon successful completion of background check and psychological examination, effective Sunday, March 9, 2025. Welcome, gentlemen. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Tristan Costa, Robert Bell, Westport Police. So on behalf of the chief who couldn't be here, he's on vacation, I just wanted to read his memo. Members of the board, to address the need for full-time police officers, I respectfully request that the board consider appointing Tristan Costa contingent upon the successful completion of a background check and psychological examination. Mr. Costa brings valuable experience, having served as a Fall River police officer for the past 5 years, with experience in uniform division in the gang unit. He is a resident of Freetown, is married with a 6-month-old boy. If approved, I propose an effective start date of Sunday, March 9th, 2025. Please note that I'm not requesting any additional funding to fill this position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, that's good, he's got experience. You realize you have to make us look good, correct, out there? Absolutely. You reflect upon us, I'll move them.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Is there anything you want to say?
Excited for the opportunity, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Deputy, is there anything you wanted to share with us about goings-on at the police department?
Right now, there's really nothing going on. Several new promotions with lieutenants and sergeants and stuff like that, and it's nice to just have this body of people that we can rely on now and have additional members of the department to answer calls for service in other parts of town if we have others tied up. So it's nice to have the members that we need to get to the job done. It's refreshing. I thank you all for that. Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do. All
Sure.
right, thank you, gentlemen.
Just if you want to relay to the chief, still working on the Chevron signs, 88 North, where it goes to 195. Just so you know, the ones that have been missing and cars keep smashing into them.
Oh, yes,
So
correct, yes.
Probably till when the ground thaws.
Okay.
It's a dream to get illuminated there, but I don't know if it's in the budget, but I want to at least get them replaced, so that's in the works.
Okay. There was also questions about Route 6 westbound at White's, where it goes around the corner there too.
Yeah.
There was never any chevrons there. We've had multiple cars go off the road there up onto 195, actually, so.
Yeah, we'll find out on that too. I know they
Is
gave
there
up.
anything you can do about that? I had questioned it earlier, and
Yeah.
they said that they were gonna wait until the project was worked on and done, but I really think that's something that we can
When I was
get
on the
in there.
Route 6 task force, we couldn't even get the yellow light back. They were sick of changing it every month. But let's see what we can do.
Okay,
All right,
appreciate that.
thanks.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good evening.
The next item we have is a request from Beverly Bish, Council on Aging Director, to appoint Wayne Hertzler as part-time maintenance specialist at 19.75 hours per week.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Beverly Bish, Director of the Council on Aging. Wayne
Wayne
comes.
Hertzler? Yeah,
Wayne-
go
Wayne comes with a lot of construction and maintenance background, too. But the biggest thing that I stressed when I interviewed him was you need to be able to clean. The gentleman who was recently just appointed, maybe like 4 weeks ago, unfortunately, he had a family medical emergency and he needs to relocate, so he had to resign, which is really unfortunate. He had been a Taunton maintenance person for many years and had retired from there. So I had Wayne come in a little bit earlier to work with him, to really show him some of the, the maintenance part, don't worry about it all. I know he's got that down pat. But the cleaning part of it too, just because of all the people that are in there, because we'll have anywhere from 100 to like 350 people go through that place in a day. So because of all the people and everything. So I'm thrilled that we have a new person on again.
I have big shoes to fill. And the guy was,
And Jim, do you have?
Very nice guy.
Oh, sorry.
Recommend approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to appoint Wayne Hertzler. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Bev, I understand you all had some prestige. You want to tell us
We
about that?
did. The Executive Office of Elder Affairs, which has now renamed themselves to the Executive Office of Aging and Independence, I believe that's what it is. Everybody's changing their name again and rebranding. They just did their annual report for '23, fiscal year '23. They take all of the COAs, their reports from the 351 towns and cities in Massachusetts, and they report on statistics, what's going on in the state, how many seniors were serving and everything. And they had on page 17, they had a section for supportive day programs, and Westport was highlighted. There's only 38 supportive day programs in the state out of 351 towns and cities. There's only 38, and out of that 38, we were highlighted as like the best practice, was what we do. So that's really, to be recognized for the whole state as, one of the best is really good. So kudos to Connie McCoy and her staff and her volunteers for the work that they do. The Supportive Day program's open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8:30 to 2:30. And on Wednesdays, we actually were up to 30 people a day. That's how many people are coming into this program. And we're just seeing more and more. We could open 5 days a week. We just don't have the capacity right now because we're doing the exercise classes and other things on Tuesday and Thursday. Before COVID, it was 8 to 12 averaged a day, and we're up to 30 people on Wednesdays, maybe 20 people on Monday or Friday or whatever it happens to be. So You know, it's just been really, really successful, and we're getting a lot of kudos from a lot of the families, too. The families and the caregivers really struggle to be able to do this day after day. So to have a very secure place and enriching environment for their loved one to be able to go to on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is really critical. And we have a few people, Michelle Raposo, who's a teacher in the school system, her mom comes to the program. She absolutely loves it. When am I going back there? When am I going back there, you know? So we have, it's a phenomenal program, and Connie, as a retired teacher, just does a wonderful job with the curriculum and everything that we do.
Well, congratulations. It's nice to
Thank
see some recognition. Anything for Beverly before we let her go? Great, thank you.
Still writing grants.
So writing grants every Friday.
Thank you, meeting everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a request, sorry.
No.
We have a request from Brian Gallagher, Chair of the Commission on Disability, to appoint Steve Mastriciano, sorry about that, to the commission. He is here if anybody has anything for him. Yeah, so we had a position on the commission, right?
Yes, it's a vacant position.
Okay.
Sounds good, I'll move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to appoint Steve Mastriciano. I know you-
Ask him how to say his name.
How do you say your name? Matriciano,
Easy for
sorry.
him to say.
Matriciano.
I've practiced that a few times.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Welcome aboard.
Thank you all.
We have a request to appoint Gay Gillespie, see, I don't have any trouble with that one, to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
I make a motion that we appoint Gay Gillespie to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Second.
Any discussion?
We
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request to post seasonal lifeguard positions and increase the hourly rates by 3%. Jim, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, this is just the yearly appointments. I think most of the lifeguards are coming back from last year, but there may be one or two openings. We normally give them the same increase that the other employees get. The only thing I would suggest is that instead of July 1st with the 3% increase, we give the 3% increase when they start, which is like the second week of June, so, just so we don't have to change the payroll the second week. So I would recommend approval, and this wouldn't just be for the lifeguards, but also for the head lifeguard would be a 3% increase. So I'd ask that you approve the posting of the positions for the lifeguards and increase the pay rate by 3% starting first week of the season.
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just need to abstain since my son's a lifeguard.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So we have 4 in favor, 1 abstention. And we have a request from Fire Chief Baldwin to support an earmark request for a cardiac monitor through Senator Michael Roderick's office. Jim?
Yeah, this is yearly, Senator Rodericks usually tries to identify an earmark for the town of Westport. We've used it for street improvements, designs along Route 177 at Gifford Road and at Tickle Road. This year, the fire department has a specific request in for $65,000, and they're just looking for the support from the Board of Selectmen so that he can send this off to the senator and hopefully get it included in the budget.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Move it.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to support the earmark request. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request to approve the Veteran Service Employment Agreements. We discussed this in executive session at the last select board meeting. So Jim, you want to give us an update?
Yes, this would be a 3-year agreement. Last contract with her, or personnel agreement, was for 1 year. We did last year. It's consistent with many of the other veteran positions throughout the area and the state. Her hourly rate, I think, is still in the middle of other employment, similar positions throughout the state. She's also certified, not only locally, but with the state level and the federal level. There's very few veterans offices here in the state that are certified for the federal, so I'd recommend approval of the 3-year contract.
I'll move it.
Second.
I just had a question. So we've already accounted for this change in the proposed budget that we're going
That's
to look
correct.
at, right? All right, is there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Carol Freitas, the Veteran Service Officer, to accept a $200 donation from Richard and Karen Broger for discretionary use.
Does she have a gift account for this? Jim?
She does have an account.
So just to clarify, it's going into the gift account or whatever?
I believe so, yes.
All right, well, discretionary is good enough if we leave it like it is?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move it as is posted.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. So the next two are layouts. So really what we need to do here is refer to the planning board. So we have petition request to lay out the way as Granite Post Road and refer the position to the planning board. This is already on the article, the town meeting warrant articles. This is to refer it to the planning board.
Do the chair no issues that you know of yet with planning on this one? With paperwork, so-
Tomorrow I'll go over it with them
Okay. All right. I'll move as recommended by the town administrator. A motion to accept the layout and petition of Granite Post Road and refer to the planning board, and the same with Maya.
Are we doing both of them?
Yeah, so first one.
Are you only doing one, or are you doing both?
All right, I'll do them both.
I'm just
I thought you
asking.
said one. I move them both. They're both on the
Okay,
same-
Granite Post Road and Maya Way, both. Okay.
Yep.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I know that Maya Way, we ended up finishing it on that
So
one,
it's,
so, yeah.
I thought.
But I don't know what's happening with survey or anything like that, but we can figure that out tomorrow. There was enough bond money and we got a good number from the contractor, so we got lucky on that one.
Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. So those are being referred to the planning board. We have a request from Chris Gonzalez, the highway surveyor, to post the skilled laborer, light truck driver, and special equipment operator positions. Do you want to tell us about that one, Jim?
Yeah, the highway department's looking to post both of these positions with the intent of only filling one of them. He's looking for, his preference would be for the skilled laborer, the special equipment operator, the higher position, but it's difficult to get somebody that has all the certifications, so if nobody is available, he'd still like to at least fill the laborer position, which hopefully we can use to do some more of the grass cutting this year. Some of the,
I'll move it with that understanding.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. If it's okay with the board, I would like to take 5A out of order, and because we have people here, do you have everybody here that you're expecting? So my thought is to go ahead and talk about Bicentennial Park and then come back to the warrant and the budget. Is that all right? All right. So this is, we're on 5A. This is to discuss Bicentennial Park.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is Dana Stewart. I'm the Recreation Director for the Town of Westport. Thank you so much for having us. This is Andrea Dunbar. She's the Chair of the Recreation Commission. And we've come to you tonight to talk about the Bicentennial Park Improvement Project that we've been working on. And we just wanted to make sure that you all know of some of the plans we've been discussing, and then to have your blessing to move forward. So our vision is to improve the Bicentennial Park for all to enjoy. This is located right near Macumber School on 192 Gifford Road. We estimate that it's 26 or more years old, and it comprises one playground structure, one skate park, 2 basketball courts, and there's some grass area on the side that has some picnic tables and benches. So some of the current issues, if any of you have been out there lately, I encourage you to go out there. It is in need of a full rehabilitation. The park is not wheelchair accessible, meaning that there are some barriers on the ground that really are preventative from people easily going to the park in a wheelchair. There's no identified wheelchair parking. There's and no real paved paths out there. There are some old broken signs, an old broken fence. The playground structure itself is very old and rusting with some pieces missing. The skate park has cracked concrete and graffiti throughout it. And the basketball courts, although usable, have some cracked pavement, fading lines, and rusted backboards. And currently, there's machinery there, of course, with the project on Gifford Road. So these are some pictures of the current state of the park. You can see there's rust, there's just cracks, there's disrepair. And we want to improve this. We want to fix this. So The solution is we have a three-phase idea. Phase one is replacing the old playground structure with a new one. We have $534,000 in CPC funds that can use to accomplish this. I've spent the last 2 years with inputting applications with CPC. Some of that did go to the annex playground, as well as an anonymous donation that we were so grateful to get. So we do have this other funding that we could put towards this playground. I am applying to grants as well. I just applied to a Lowe's grant, and I'm going to be working on some others to kind of help supplement. Gives us a little more room in terms of a design. If we want to add things that might be great features to have, we can maybe do that if we have some grant money. We're actively getting design quotes from 3 different playground companies. The Recreation Commission and our playground subcommittee have been working on that. Right now, we're kind of fine-tuning some of those designs, going back and forth with the companies on colors, on different aspects of the playground. So that's always kind of a fun process. And then we estimate that we can install this in summer, fall of 2025. I understand from Jim that the machinery that is out there might hopefully be gone by like May or June.
Yeah, I would say maybe a little later than that, but if it needs to be out sooner, we can try and work something out.
So that would be great, and we can kind of work around that.
Jim, I got a question on you. Don't we own some land on Osborne Street? Around that way, like behind that old school or something? I just wondering
Is
why.
it School Street, or is it in back of the old
Why don't
school
we
there?
dig it, go over there instead of like,
So let's talk about the playground.
I am talking about.
Well, let's talk about there, let's talk about theirs, we'll talk about it. You're talking about moving the equipment over there, is that what you're talking about?
Well, it says it's in the playground, and I'm just wondering why it was decided to put it in the playground, that's all. I mean, I don't think that's the wrong question to ask when we're looking about rehabbing the playground.
Oh, go
That's
ahead.
being destroyed right now.
It was a clear area. They said they would come back in and do any repairs to the basketball court after. The other area was wooded, so it would have to be cleared, and there were some wetlands back there.
Just so you know, the basketball courts are an ice skating rink too. I think those berms are ruined, but we didn't really flood it that much anymore anyways because of the liability,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Thank you.
Nothing was freezing until this year.
Yeah, really. So with phase two, we have an application that we submitted for CPC funds for $250,000. It was approved to go to town meeting and will be up for approval at town meeting this May 6th. So if approved, we'd like to accomplish the following. We'd like to demolish the old skate park and prep the land for either a new skate park or another recreation area. We have polled the community members at some of the events this past holiday season of what they would like to see out there, and we want to continue to do so up until the point where we would start looking at different designs. Obviously, what we would put in would affect the budget. So for examples, we could do a brand new skate park with just nicer features and more modern. We could do a tennis courts. I know we have some at the high school, but we could add some others north of town.
You didn't get bombarded with pickleball requests?
So we discussed
That's what everybody
pickleball
wants.
length.
It's louder in the back though.
And that is one of the issues. We have those houses on the side, we have houses in front of the park, and then Macumber School on the side. And our Recreation Commission did speak or talk about the idea, and we were worried about abutters. I know it's like 100 to 200 feet barrier between abutters and a pickleball court, and we're not sure that would work. However, we have been talking about maybe partnering with the Westport Youth Athletic Association to see if down the line we can install some pickleball courts at the fields there that are near Ace Hardware there. So that's a possibility. I also know the school did end up painting pickleball lines on 2 of their tennis courts this past November, so that's good. And the elementary school actually has 3 pickleball courts they created by painting lines on the blacktop in the back of the school that I'm sure could be used after school hours when school's not in session. So the other thing we'd like to do is create paved walking paths around the whole perimeter of the park area, which is quite large, and through the center and across in the park. We feel like that'll give people another way to exercise, People who have mobility issues or in wheelchairs could do so. Kids could practice with their little bikes, maybe even the rollerblading, but it gives a nice paved area for people to get out and exercise. We'd like to improve the front of the park with a new fence, signs, wheelchair accessible parking and entrance. Just have it look nice in the front so people can, be proud to come up to that park and see it and come on through. We'd like to improve the basketball courts by repaving, new lines, possible new backboards and nets. We'd like to install a covered pavilion. This is an idea that we came up with because I get a lot of requests for people wanting to use the gym for birthday parties, and this would give people another space to hold a birthday party or event. Thinking that through the recreation department and a permit, they could use that space and reserve it for their event, and then have the amenities in the park to use as well. This wouldn't preclude others in the public from coming to the park. It would just create a reservation of sorts for that pavilion. And then we believe work can begin anytime after May 6th, again, in coordination with the current construction out there. And if we're able to begin that even simultaneously as we're improving the actual playground. So phase 3 is down the line. We'd like to submit another CPC application. This would basically be putting something in place of where the old skate park was. We would like to survey the community, as I had mentioned, about what they might like out there. And then we'll investigate the costs and different design options. And then we can work on that anytime after possibly May 2026, when we might be able to get funding. Now with that too, we can always investigate other grants and other funding options for donations and such. Tim Gillespie, who's on our Recreation Commission, did this mock-up of kind of our idea. So the parking would still be in the front, but we'd like to repave that, make it nicer. He didn't put it in this design, but right up front near the entrance, we'd like to have wheelchair accessible parking. That would be very well identified. And then as you can see with the gray line areas, those will all be paved paths. And then that's just an example of, the playground. It's not an actual design there on this sketch. But you could see where we're thinking about putting a pavilion. It would have concrete on the bottom or base, and then we'd have heavy picnic tables underneath, so that it would be pretty much maintenance free. We'd have to talk about trash, like if someone comes out there, but I think, that's always an issue with the park too. And then we'd like to just make the basketball courts look a lot nicer. And then that blank space in the back obviously would be phase 3. So when we demolish, we just make sure to smooth out the surface, and so it's not of harm to anyone if they go out there. Maybe put gravel down or something. It wouldn't be a green space. It's just kind of to indicate the space where it is on the design there. So that is the presentation, and I welcome any questions, or if you have anything to add as well. That just lists our Recreation Commission members who've been helping me.
Can you go back to the playground layout, please? So just so you know, there's currently a gate right here.
Yep,
That's so police can get back there.
yes, and
Probably
we can
what
do
you're
that.
gonna do, make sure this one's wide enough.
Yes,
The only problem, I think the walkway's great. The only problem is if you're gonna put asphalt, you're gonna have frost eaves and it's gonna get ruined in the winter. Another big problem with walkways too, with playgrounds, almost every one of them, if you're too low, it tends to keep the water and of course ice issues. So I would just be careful on that. If you can move the pavilion up, you wanna always, where people are gonna gather, we'd always like to see it better where the police can see it driving by. The further back it is, there's also a house here, so you wanna try to pull it up if you can.
Okay.
And like you already mentioned with trash, they're gonna, people are gonna be eating underneath it and.
yep.
generating a lot of stuff.
So that's something we can definitely talk about, of how to maintain that.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of maybe moving it further. I just don't want it too close to the street, just in case. But yeah, I like that idea too.
Well, you gotta keep in mind, now they'll have a spot on rainy days to hang around there, and
Yep.
it's gets used by a lot of out-of-town people, if you will. We get a lot of calls on it in the summer. But no, I'd love to have the walking thing. You just gotta find out with a good idea or it won't get ruined in the winter.
Yeah, yeah.
And, yeah, just make sure in your planning that you leave a spot all the way where ambulance and a cruiser can get down,
Yep.
in case somebody gets hurt.
Yes, just like with the annex playground, we have like the main gate that is a double door gate, but then on the side, we have an even larger, section that cars and machinery can get through.
Sounds good.
Yeah, if you build the walkways to spec with the amount of, right amount of gravel, like what we have in a highway spec, it won't be a problem in the winter.
Okay.
Yeah, but you gotta keep in mind, ambulance and police cars will be driving.
Yeah, we'll just build it like, put 12 inches of gravel and you won't have a problem. You don't want to do it over the loom, you know, like
Yeah.
some of the things in the past, highway would try to build it and it wouldn't.
Yeah, if you got a good packet, it'll be all right.
So you weren't asking for any action for us tonight, right? You're just.
No, the recommendation was that we present kind of what we've been discussing. We do have the funds to get started on this year. So we want to make sure you're aware of everything we're working on, especially since this park, I think, just needs it real bad.
One other thing that wasn't on, I know it's just the preliminary, but flagpole.
Oh, of course, it will,
George Cataldo.
yes, we will not be removing that. That will be still there. Yes, yes.
Sounds good.
Sound like you need Steve on your committee.
It was, you did it 20 years ago, I'm old.
As a member of the community, not like, as a parent of a 34-year-old and a 30-year-old, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great place to go.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice. It's just that, you know,
It's
it's
old.
old.
Yeah, yeah, it's time for a facelift of sorts.
Right. And then the trash issue, and then there got to be a time where you couldn't go with the kids anymore because the skate park was overrun with, like
Yeah.
Steve said, with, you know, just the bigger kids and the little kids. It
Yeah.
just wasn't
Yeah.
a safe haven to go with little kids anymore.
Yeah.
So you backed off of that a little bit. you know,
Right, and
so-
that's part of our job is to research those things. We'd like for it to be multi-generational space that, you know, all ages can use, but we also want it to be a safe space.
Yeah, we got the elementary school right next door, so.
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
Major concern.
Yes. Well, you know, who knows, maybe the elementary school could actually use this space too.
I think that'd be a good idea to maybe reach out to the school.
Well, I think they're trying to do something, their own thing too, because the kids played it, and I don't know, you can work it out.
I like just being so close to the elementary and
Yeah.
you got out-of-towners hanging out there.
That's right, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, we have free cash from the CIPC recommendation for the MAC playground, so. All right, anything else?
One more thing.
Go ahead.
So Jim, like around the Macumber and stuff, there's some tax title land back there. Does that abut the school or anything?
Not aware of the tax title. There's big pieces that's
There's like a
included
hill
with the
on it.
school. I'm not sure the stuff in back.
After that green
Sure.
patch, it's like a hill that goes down pretty steep, so after that, it'd probably get expensive to backfill. See where she's got the back of that green? It like goes down at a pitch. We had a problem with kids hanging around down there. That's why I mentioned always leave enough room for the cruiser, because there was some issues.
Well, I think there's quite a few pieces. There used to be paper streets and stuff like that, but they look like they're mostly all wetlands and they're in tax title. I don't know if there's something that we could do about that, maybe looking into it. It would be good to have a buffer. Buffer around.
Talk to the tax title lady.
No, if the tax title, we can look at it.
Yeah, the noise too, so. All right.
All right, anything else? Anything from, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for working on that, it's great.
You're welcome. I do have printed out handouts I'll leave with Paula in case anyone wants to take those.
Thank you. So are you here to talk about the warrant?
Yes, if you have
Just in time.
Okay. So we're back on 4H now, review and approve the annual town meeting warrant. We do have printed copies, just the summary of what the articles were. And then in your materials is the full written stuff. I know, Jim, you highlighted one here that we wanted to talk about. So Article 14, so the current Article 14 is whether to increase the room occupancy tax from 4% to 6%. And so we had a question about, I believe this should be on the warrant, but we had a question about whether we want to have a discussion about whether it should be included on the warrant or not.
With my other hat, there's you wouldn't have to petition the state for every time you wanted to raise this. It's one of the questions, but there are people complaining because it's a tax raise too. So right now, as you know, you have to participate in state for it. One of the bills is to make it state law, so you could automatically use it if you wanted to, invoke it in town.
Yeah, but
So I believe town meeting with this one, there's some other ones that are, I think in the queue, right, that they're looking to increase, but the rooms tax from 4 to 6%.
Yeah, but
Town
it'd
meeting
be,
vote if we accept the statute.
it's just to help so you wouldn't have to do a home rule
Okay.
to state every time, but that hasn't been voted on yet. I'm just letting the board be aware of the goings-ons.
All right, so I actually want to keep Article 14 on the warrant, but does anybody want to remove it? Do we want to talk about removing it?
No.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
No, but I just want to point out that some people may not realize the state's portion of this is 5.7. So already and actually, this is a tax on the people who rent, not the owner. So the current total is 9.7. We get 4% back from the state. This brings it to 11.7, so it's starting to be real money, I think. And, but I say that not knowing what the situation is in other towns. Do they have a higher number, is 4 common or 6 common? I mean, I don't really know.
So I worked for a hotel company for many, many years, and I can tell you that 11% tax is pretty low on room taxes. It's like, it's taxation without representation, basically, because your people who live and pay taxes there aren't the ones renting the rooms typically. Yeah, I mean, it seems high, but that's pretty simple.
No one ever complains about taxes on their hotel bills. They worry about the basic flat room rate, and always anticipate there's gonna be an uptick.
Yeah, I don't think, and, because I think the other concern would be if you're gonna hurt the current business owner there, but I think it's very in line with what other local hotels are charging. So I don't know that.
Yeah, I would say bring it to the people, we're not forcing it on.
Okay, so we're gonna keep that one on the warrant. We're gonna talk about the budget in a little bit, and the CIPC, is on the back page of the budget presentation they had. Were there any others, Jim, that you wanted to call out in particular?
So Article 20, which isn't on your index, for some reason I missed that one. Article 20, 21, and 22 are the 3 that relate to the tax collector. Article 20 is the tax title revolving fund, and that changes the name from collector to, I think, treasurer collector. Sue could probably explain, well, I'm sure she could explain that better than
Right.
myself.
The tax title revolving fund is actually there for foreclosure of properties already in tax title. The duties of the tax collector and the treasurer, even though I'm the same person, the tax collector's duties are to put them, if people don't pay, to do a tax taking. Once it's in a tax taking, the treasurer takes over, and then the treasurer can foreclose. So the treasurer, as much as anything, needs the access to these funds. The way the article is written, or was previously written, only the tax collector had access to these funds, and the treasurer needs it to do the foreclosures.
Okay, so in practicality, this isn't changing anything, but it's
No.
kind of aligning with practice.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any questions on that? And what about the Article 21, the tax title revolving fund?
The previous balancing in it was 25,000. This here is, and believe me, this is the brief summary of the recent changes made to the Tax Title Reform Act that they just passed in the state. And there's a lot more to it now on the process once they go into foreclosure and what we have to do and how we have to go about selling the properties and so forth. So unfortunately, what it means is we need to have the funds available to do this if we're going to be foreclosing on properties.
Okay. Any questions on that? And then was 22 also yours?
Yes.
Except the
Ridge
deed?
Road.
accept a deed for property off Briggs Road.
Correct. And this one here, the two people that currently own the property, Kurt's wife and this other friend of theirs, Janice, both have contacted me and said they've had the property for years. It's actually been in tax title for years, and it was one of the ones that I was considering submitting for foreclosure. They said they just don't want it anymore. It's a landlocked parcel, and they just want to get rid of it. I asked the tax title attorney whether it would be beneficial to just go through the foreclosure process or to do this, and he said this is the easier of the two paths to take.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
That's good.
So most of the rest of these articles that you would have some say are all just standard.
Right, the only, I think there's a fourth one, which is the next one, which is to rescind some borrowing that was approved for ag open space. The balance on the article is 83.5, which is the ag open space asked me to put that on there because they feel it's not sufficient enough to purchase any property at this time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody have anything else for Sue? Anything else?
Nothing for Sue. Just Article 8, the Waterline Enterprise Fund. Mr. Soers and myself met with Fall River Intermediator a couple of weeks ago. We're still waiting for the final agreement from Fall River, so that could impact the amount that we have to fund in that article.
Okay. And then the Article 17, you have a note, that's the septic revolving fund, but that's not out of pocket. We don't.
It's just kind of, the money comes in, the money goes out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's a lot of work.
It is.
I personally do not recommend those. It makes the town act as a bank, and we're not a bank.
Yeah. Okay. Any other ones you wanted to comment while you're here? Great. So we're gonna talk about the budget and the CIPC money, but besides that, is there anything else missing from the warrant? Anything we wanna remove? We owe, at our next meeting, we owe a version of, all the financial articles to the finance committee, but we don't have to close the warrant, just yet. So we can, there's still time to, I think on the 24th is when we'll have to finalize the warrant and post it. 24th of March. All right, anything else on the warrant? Okay, so let's talk about, the budget. So we have a nice little, I think this is largely what you talked to us about last week, right? Or last meeting.
Yeah, there's really minimal changes, if any at all, from from 2 weeks ago when we discussed this. I could highlight a couple of things if that helps.
Yes, please.
So we did do a little pamphlet here that I distributed to the board in hard copy. I'd like to point out that there have been improvements to the overall budget, the town budget, over the last few years, last 3 to 5 years. We've seen some additional money being reserved and carried over into free cash, which is getting us consistent with some of the other communities in our area and throughout the state. We've been accustomed to low free cash amounts on a yearly basis, which just means we're being a little bit more conservative on our budgeting revenue estimates. But keep in mind that the free cash that we had certified this year was from 2024. So we already bumped those estimates up in '25, and they're bumped up again in this upcoming budget '26. So some of this free cash that's there has already been absorbed in the '25-year budget for the FY '25 free cash, and a little bit more will be absorbed in the '26 budget as well. Stabilization accounts, those have been improving over the last few years. DLS, Department of Local Services, recommends that we have about 5% of our overall budget in stabilization funds. After this year's town meeting, if the recommendations go as proposed, we'd be at about 4.8%, and next year we should reach that 5% goal. So we're getting closer. Last year, we set the town meeting, Select Board and Finance Committee, set up a special education fund, which we deposited, I think, 50 or 60,000 last year, and we're recommending to put some more money into that account this year. That allows the Select Board and the School Committee if they both vote affirmatively to utilize some of those funds mid-year. So if we get a student that transfers in mid-year that we had not budgeted for, you can access some of those funds to get you through the rest of the year. The assessor overlay account, in 2021, we had actually a negative balance. We've been able to bring that up over the last 3 years, so that this year, we're actually proposing to take $450,000 out of that account to be used to help purchase a fire engine, which will be up over $900,000. The OPEB money, we continue year after year, we try to put as much money as we can in that. From the Roselli Clark Associates letter that came out, we currently have about $4.1 million in that account, which represents about 20% of our gross liability, and this puts the town clearly above the average for most communities here in the state. And then audit, the yearly audit from Roselli Clark and Associates. The report said scope limitations, no GAAP departures, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. And this is done, we have an audit team, an audit committee, we have a financial team that's been making some steady progress on a lot of our filings, so there are some improvements in the budget. That's the good news. Revenue this year, as we've talked about. First of all, the few things that we're waiting for budget adjustments, the health insurance. We have a meeting Thursday, I should get the health insurance numbers. Right now, they're looking at, it's going up to 12% increase in our health insurance. We may be able, the SMIG group, the Southeastern Mass Health Group that we work with, may offset some of those costs with some of the investments that they have. So that may lower it maybe as much, from 12 down to 8 or 9%, but we'll know that on Thursday. Right now, in our current budget, we're pretty much budgeted for the 12%. So anything less, we will have a little bit of flexibility, but not much. Usually, we have a little bit more in there, so we're getting close on that account. Property insurance, they're recommending a 10% increase on property insurance. Regional schools, we still don't have those numbers, but some preliminary discussions with Diamond, that may come in a little bit less than we had budgeted, about $100,000. So that will go back into the overall system. State aid, don't anticipate many changes. Big numbers is Chapter 70, charter schools, school choice. I don't see those changing. They don't typically change from the governor's budget to the final budget, or if they do, they only change a little bit. And same thing with the state assessments. We actually made out pretty well on the state assessments. The charter school and the school choice, kids leaving the district to attend charter school and school choice has gone down. So we've had less assessments in that category this year. So when we take in all the new revenue, the estimated new revenue, we're at about $2.2 million. We have some fixed costs or shared expenses that we share with the school and the general side of government, the debt service, pension assessment, health and life insurance, regional school assessments, and state assessments. We deduct those from the new revenue, about $500,000, which leaves us net new revenue about $1.7 million. If we do the standard split, we're at about 54% for the schools at $927,000 and 46% for the town at $789,000. Town side, the general part of the budget, I think we're pretty close. We've been able to fund most of the requests. The last meeting, I mentioned a number of reductions or areas that we made some cuts, or the departments made some cuts themselves. The school is still a challenge, trying to meet their overall recommended budget. Right now, they're at $24 million. We're at about $23 million without any free cash. We have a couple of options. We could reduce our OPED from 100 to 175 to 100 to free up $75,000. We could use free cash to pay off the campground. This would be the last year for the campground, so it's operating funds. It wouldn't be necessarily be a one-time revenue boost to the overall operating budget. So that, along with the $400,000 of free cash, would get us to about $23,540. Still about $500,000 short from their request, but we're seeing every year as we use more and more free cash to balance the budget, it's getting more and more difficult to offset that free cash the following year. And at some point, whether it's next year, the year after, or 3 years down the line, we're not gonna have that free cash available, and we're not gonna be able to plug that budget, and there will be some serious cuts, not only to the schools, but to the town side.
And, Jim, that's not,
It's
you
not
don't have that
in
reflected in
No,
here,
that's
right?
correct.
Okay.
So in that, I have the 20, just under 23 million reflected in the school budget there. Free cash is not reflected in those revenue or expense accounts,
And then the OPEB and the campground are still
still included in
their
that, yeah, so that'd be,
respective line items here.
that'd be a swap. We'd be taking it out of one section and putting in the other.
Okay. So are you looking for, so we have to finalize the budget tonight, so are you looking for
Has to
whether
go
we
to the-
want to go with your recommendation or not? Do you want to keep going on your overview first, though?
Yeah, just on yearly expended revenue, I don't think I have that here now. We've estimated in a 5-year plan that we did last year, the financial plan, that on new revenue, we should be budgeting at about a 3.5% increase. The school this year is about 3.9% with what we're recommending, so we're up above that revenue, what we think our local new revenue can support on a yearly basis. Last year, I think they were close to 6%. The town was over 3.5% as well last year. Last year, we had almost $2 million in new revenue that we split. This year, we're down to 1.7. And those are two of the highest years that we've had since prior to 2014. So we're doing what we can to make that work. That's all I have on the school budget. Again, I think without some free cash or without some reallocating some funds, I think it'll be very difficult for the school to even function. They're looking at $700,000 plus in just negotiated raises. And that pretty much gets them to the, that gives them about $200,000. They have some additional transportation costs, so their fixed costs are pretty close to what we're proposing without the free cash, campground and OPEB money.
All right, and then this budget here, the 50, we have here on this page, 56,371 total, but that's because you don't have, in that little chart you just showed of the overall budget, that included your recommendations for the school department, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, did you have more?
I do not.
Okay. All right, any questions? Any comments? I think you've approved something very rational here, so I support your proposals. I don't know how it feels.
I move we endorse the proposal, town administrator proposal for the budget.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, just a
Yep.
question for Jim. Has the finance committee weighed in on this school budget? No?
They met, we had a meeting last week or the week before. There was a joint, I shouldn't think we, I was at the meeting, but it was the finance committee and the school committee presented their budget to the finance committee. This budget, if approved tonight, will go to the finance committee. Finance committee will prepare the budget for town meeting.
So, but they haven't weighed in on the numbers?
They haven't weighed in the numbers, no.
I mean, we make our own decisions as well, but just curious.
I think you've done a very good job again. I think we're still fortunate that we're gonna talk about some of the free cash spend, but I think you've pulled it out of your hat again, Jim, so thank you for doing that. Is there any other discussion?
Just discloses, I always do, my wife works for the school department, but I filed a disclosure years ago, so I'm able to vote in the overall budget.
Okay, all right, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. So we'll send that over to FinCom. Thank you to the Finance Committee for allowing us to send it a couple days late. And then CIPC recommendations. This is on the back page of what we're.
So this is, and we had talked about this before. Mr. Brewer had mentioned this about last meeting or the meeting before. This is what the CIPC recommended. I would like to bring up, in addition to this, we had the cemetery estimate. We're looking at opening up 2 different sections of the cemetery, and the estimate from the engineer came in around $919,000. We were looking at $400,000 for that, $200 from free cash and $200 from perpetual care. I'm asking the board to consider adding an additional 300,000 from free cash, and we would be looking at additional money from perpetual care to get us up to that 900. There is a possibility that the highway department may be able to do some of this work, but they're short-staffed as well, and this is a fairly big project.
Well, I think they've done it in the past, and I think $900,000 would pay for a little bit of staffing. Not to say that we don't have to do the whole expansion all at once. They can do a plot at a time like they used to do years ago. I mean, Steve, you were around when they used to do that, right? Did we have any problems?
Expand it. No, I'm not sure on this one, though, which way to go, to be honest with you. Because there were circumstances about, there were some neighbors willing to swap some property. I don't know if that affects this gym or not. I could talk to you on the side on that.
Okay.
I don't recall what happened with that.
Well, if we put the money there now and we do it a different way, we could always,
Yeah, this has got to go to town meeting anyway, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you have, in the overview you gave us, you've included that 300,000 additional
I did, yes.
on the spreadsheet here.
The select board actually approved the rest at a previous meeting.
Yeah.
It's just this 300,000, whether or not you want to amend it or,
No, I think amend Article 5 to include that, and see what the voters say. Does everybody have a problem with that?
Chair, I have a different comment.
Yeah.
Regarding the CIPC free cash, that's the MAC playground, not to be confused with the Bicentennial playground. This is the MAC school playground, which was approved for recommendation by the CIPC at $325,000, just for clarification.
Yeah. And these ones in the green, their stabilization is Article 32, special ed stabilization is Article 34, and capital is Article 33. It's like you got lazy on your labeling your articles, Jim.
they keep changing.
Yeah, we can reduce them, we just can't increase them, right?
All right, so that's Article 5 on the capital expenditures. Any other changes we need to make to that? Okay, so I think do you have what you need, Jim?
I do.
Anything else on the budget before we move on?
That's it.
Okay, 5B, the Personnel Board response to the Director of Public Infrastructure position. So I'm told that Cindy Brown from the Personnel Board had intended to come to tonight's meeting, but was not available, so she did not. You saw the letter in there. They had some questions about the scope of the position, I think is what it was, and the supervision that would be exercised. So I think they just had some questions about that, so they weren't comfortable making a recommendation. Undefined role of the supervision, what departments would report, would services be allocated to them? That's pretty much it. So what would you guys like to do? My recommendation would be wait and talk to the Personnel Board, but what do you think?
Madam Chair, my view on this is yes to that, but are they going to come back with the same recommendation? If they're not satisfied with it, will they be looking for change to it and then approval?
I think they probably are looking for some more specificity on the role, the supervisory role.
Mhm.
And then, because it says which departments would report to the positions, highway, cemetery, transfer station, so I think I think the job description actually was clear. It said highway
It said highway, and I believe it said
and
cemetery as well.
cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's all.
Mhm. So you intend to have them back, you just couldn't make it tonight, but you said they didn't make a recommendation, but will they make a recommendation?
Well, I mean, I don't, we can move forward if we want, or we can make some changes.
Mm.
One of the questions I got from somebody else, unrelated, was, we're calling it Director of Public Infrastructure, but we don't have a Department of Public Infrastructure. So I did talk to Jim a little bit about what's the mechanism for creating a department. We don't necessarily have to create a department, but we can't just create a department. We need to look about how to do that.
So I can confirm that over the next week or so. I can check with town council and see if that needs a bylaw change, or if we can just go forward without that.
Yeah.
And then if it does need a bylaw change, we'd still have time to get it in for this town meeting.
Yeah, so, because right now it says it's in the highway department, right?
The funding is in the highway department.
highway-
It was appropriated to the salary account for the highway department.
Candidly, it makes more sense to have a department, have a separate department with a description of the department and then the reporting relationships within, because right now it's sort of, it's awkward from an organizational perspective.
Well, one of my issues is, I mean, as far as infrastructure, with the Board of Health and the stormwater and all the issues that I'm seeing townwide, that's one of the reasons we need the engineer. I mean, the Board of Health, Conservation, not filing notices of intent, they're doing work without it, but then they're enforcing it on the residents, and all my constituents are just constantly calling me. So we need somebody that understands how, we're gonna have water out there, they're gonna have to have a permit to tie into the water, they're gonna need to do that. Who's doing that? The stuff that we just had with the gas company being fined for breaking a drain that was town drain, and then we didn't mark the drain when DigSafe. So we're not, when you call DigSafe, the utilities mark their own utilities, so the water is Westport's, the drain is Westport's. And if you don't go mark it, and they hit it, I think the gas company got fined like $7,600 or something for that. It's just these kind of things that's gonna take the burden off of town administrator.
So is that in the job description though? Like this, I think some of the questions, because what you just said is a perfectly good
permitting.
example of why you wanted a town engineer, but is that in the job description?
Yeah, not everything's in the job description,
Yeah.
obviously, right? But typically, the town engineer would be responsible for those types of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not inventing the wheel. There's other towns that do this. Swansea's the same exact way. They got a town engineer. They get the same scenario.
But you were advocating for not calling it a town engineer though. You were advocating for calling it.
Department of Public Infrastructure, because we have other infrastructure that belongs to the town that's not being maintained correctly. So if you have somebody that understands that, they can make sure that it's maintained correctly. I mean, just this last year, I'm not even gonna go into the instances, but we've had. So we kinda need somebody that knows what's going on.
So what's the pleasure of the board? I'm against this position, so I've been pretty clear about it. But, so I don't want to be the one making a decision here.
But-
And I'm against it because I don't think we've fully thought out the department structure. And I don't think we thought of the long-term budgetary impact of hiring a new high-pay position. But I appreciate the need for someone to do this work.
We did allocate the money for it
Yeah.
in the last town meeting. I mean,
Let's see the years.
I mean, weren't we looking for, you were looking for for the broadband, I mean, this could fall into all of that. That's infrastructure.
Are you moving something or proposing something? Like,
Obviously.
I don't know, I'm trying to understand what the,
Well, I put
I
this
don't have a
forward.
proposal of where to go from here, so
What
do
do we
you
need on
gentlemen
this?
have a proposal of what you want to do next?
What do we need on this? What do you need?
I'm not quite sure what the intent is to set it up. I understand in general what we're looking for, but is this position gonna oversee the highway department, cemetery, or some other department? The position, most engineer positions, regardless of where they are, whether with DPW or whether with planning or some other office, they function, like you said, they service kind of the other departments. Board of Health has issues, they call the engineer in, he reviews the plans for the Board of Health, or he'll review them for conservation or for planning.
It can keep everybody out of trouble.
It's just, it's who's this position gonna oversee? And if it's a new department, does that department have to be created by town bylaw? I can check on that this week.
When you look at the Swansea, see how they have it set up. They have a similar situation.
Okay, they did, when I was there, 92, they were DPW.
Yeah, but they have. a
Dave
separate-
Webster was the
They have
engineer.
it, so they have it's the same exact WIHA, they call it a DPW, but it's not. And they have a town engineer.
Yep,
It's
Right.
exactly the way we
Okay.
have it.
I think we have to decide whether it's gonna be a staff role, i.e. engineer, a line role, which means that they're gonna have supervisory authority, and it's gonna be within the context of the department, and the person's gonna be a supervisor. So the staff role as an engineer is sort of an internal consultant, to flag some of the issues that Manny brought up, and can also be a resource to the town departments. That's different than being the head of a department where you have line authority over the highway surveyor, the cemetery department, and whoever else we put in there.
Yeah, and I think those are the people we're looking for. You know, you got the Board of Health's elected. So, I mean, to say that we're gonna supervise over him, but at that point, maybe we take the stormwater out of the Board of Health and put it into that, where it belongs. And the same thing with the planning board. The planning board's elected. But that doesn't mean they can't call them and say, hey, what do you think about this? That can help.
Well, they could do that either way, though, so, but what you're saying is, do we wanna hire somebody with supervisory responsibilities or not? Because either way, they could be a resource for all the departments, right?
So we
But
need more structure.
it does nail down what the criteria is for what we're looking for, and may also influence ultimately what the salary's gonna be. I know we're ballparking it, but I think we'll have to do salary comparisons when you have that department head role in similar sized towns versus an engineer role.
And it can also save us money when we get the right candidate. I mean, we spend a lot of money on consultants that we could use, like the MS4 stuff. You know, we could use them for that.
So do you have a recommendation about line versus staff and department head versus not? I mean, this is I think what the meat of the personnel board, what they wanted to know.
Well, Madam Chair, if I may, that was also the nub of our discussion last time, line versus staff. I support the engineering position, the engineer's position, for the lack of a better term, as a staff position, an advisory position, not to have other departments reporting to it. That's a different question, brings in different issues, and I don't think we're there yet. But what we really need is somebody with engineering expertise to fulfill those functions and to coordinate with other departments and do the things that Manny's talking about. But I think I thought that's what it was reading. When it came back, I called Jim, if you recall. I said, Jim, this doesn't read exactly the way we talked the other night. And I was thinking more of the line position not being part of that. It's more of a staff advisory position. But a significant position.
I agree with you on that, 100%.
So that's where I'm at, and maybe that is where the personnel board is not pleased, but they didn't weigh in, so we left to our own devices, or to go back, talk to them some more.
Well, so then do we wanna have Jim rework the job description? Because the job description right now does include supervisory authority over
Yes,
the
it
highway
does.
surveyor. So do we need, I think we need to give Jim some direction about how we rework the job description.
I don't care if there's no supervisory, it's just, like we said, I mean, highway has their duties, all the other departments have their duties, just, they can field some of the calls that go to you.
Jim, did you ever find the old engineer job description from when we had one briefly? That was before computers, so it was probably all paper. So, all right, I was just thinking that could be part of it.
We probably have it. I can check. I didn't
If you
check. on
can,
it.
maybe that'll help a little bit. Yeah, I think we all agree that it could be a line person, not really overseeing, so we can get somebody on.
All right, so, and then I also think then we need to consider making it the town engineer position, not, because if you make it director of public infrastructure, it looks like there's a department of public infrastructure there.
Okay.
But if you have a line level position, town engineer, and at some future date, we decided to reorganize the public works departments, then there's still, you could shuffle that around, right?
I would like to move that motion. We just call him the town engineer.
Engineering instead of this infrastructure.
All right, so I don't think we're moving it yet, because, so we're
I'm gonna
directing,
come back with the description.
we're directing Jim to rename it to town engineer, to remove the supervisory references, from the job description.
It's gonna be constructed as a staff type of role,
Yeah.
consultant to the towns and.
Make it clear that they're providing consultative expertise to these other departments.
Yeah.
Right.
That's in there.
Infrastructure related, including stormwater.
We stumbled on consensus.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I like that.
And that the other departments are not reporting to that position.
Right, they still report to the
Yeah.
select board.
Right.
All
Okay,
right.
so if you can rework that, Jim, and then provide that draft to, I think it's safe to provide that draft to Cindy, even before we reviewed it again. And then invite her to come to the next meeting.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Perfect.
Okay. Town administrator report.
So I think as everybody's seen, their utility bills have been going up fast, gas and electric. NSTAD, Eversource did send a fact sheet out, just kind of explaining why their rates have gone up. I know, I spoke to Mr. Ouellette earlier today, he sent me some emails. The state is looking to see if they can do something to maybe lower the rates or to keep them from going up further. I just wanted to put the fact sheet out. We did get another fact sheet from, this was Liberty Utilities, I think.
Yeah, they're all
This
sending
is
them out
gas,
now, 'cause
yeah.
they're getting inundated.
So we will put those up on the website if anybody is interested. Not much we can do here at the town level, but I just kind of wanted to point out that people are aware of it, and they are looking to do something about it at the state level if they can.
Jim, can I piggyback on that before it goes around the table? March 25th, the Pulaski School in New Bedford, Eversource will be there. That is about paying your bill and helping you finance it, but I'm telling people to go anyways and voice their issues with their bills. So that's the closest it comes to us live on this tour that they're doing. They're going all over the state. So March 25th, Pulaski School in New Bedford, it's the Brayley Road exit. 6 to 8 p.m., I think it is.
Thank you.
Cherry and Webb fence, it's under contract, it's supposed to start in March. It's got to be done by April before the piping plover season, so as long as it's not frozen, it shouldn't be frozen, it's all sand, so they should be able to get it done. It's been a long time coming. The old high school, RGB Associates, who is our consultant for the long-term building committee, did a tour of the high school a week and a half ago. They also toured this building, the Annex Council on Aging, last week. There's a meeting Thursday night with the long-term building committee. It'll be their first meeting. RGB will present their preliminary findings on the existing buildings and try to get some direction as to where the committee wants to go going forward. Their schedule is pretty aggressive. They're looking to get this report done by June, so they seem to be moving pretty quick. The Macumber Loop Waterline Project, work on the waterline project is moving forward as scheduled. This week, they've started work on Route 6. They've started in the center, median, thank you, with the water line. We have had some complaints regarding the condition of the road and the patches. We had a tough weekend last weekend with all the rain that we had and the freeze thaws that we've had. Overall, you know, I've seen a lot of these projects throughout my years, and the overall condition is pretty good, but it still needs to be better. They went out and they did the patching this week. If somebody does see a bad patch or they see a hole, let us know and we will address it as soon as we can.
Jimmy, let me say on that, like typically this stuff's done in the summertime. This is the worst, coldest winter in probably 20 years. They're doing an excellent job. Just another question on the Macumber Loop. I just saw something about the school. Did we had an issue with the well at the Macumber School? We didn't have school or something like that?
The elementary
No, it was
school.
heat. That was heat,
Oh,
the heat blew up, tank blew.
See, I didn't hear that one.
All right.
The elementary school is closed today.
So that was the one that they need to fill that tank or something, this kind of issue back there with that tank?
I know, I don't know all the detail. I know last year, as part of the budget, and the year before, the school department was looking at replacing that water tank. And there was a significant cost to that. What that significance is, whether it's a few thousand, 20 or 30,000, I don't know, but realizing that the water would be connected to it, they've kind of taken that off the table, so. We did do, they did the service connection into the foundation last week when school was out. So, you know, that should be done. I assume in the next couple of months, they should actually be on the town water.
But the elementary school, why'd that happen? What's going
I
on?
don't
over
know
there?
about that one.
The
It's the
shutdown?
first I heard.
Yeah.
I don't know if, do you want me to say what happened, Mr. General, or do you want to say it? They had an internal heat tank blow, and when it blew all over the wall, all over the controls. So it zapped out all the controls, all the circulators, nothing got to do with the outside tank. It was just expansion tank, gigantic expansion tank, and it blew part off the top. And actually somebody walking around the building saw the water coming out of the building. So on a Sunday, I gotta give props to the people that went out, Ryan Ferrero Electric, and Bosco. They came out on a Sunday to try to get the things rocking and rolling, but there was just too much stuff fried from the water blowing all over the panels. And of course, Mrs. Willett did a heck of a job. She was there all day Sunday, so,
Kudos to Mrs. Alette.
there you go.
You gonna roll up your sleeves and get in there, Palmer?
I was there a little late because we had an all-day event in Freetown.
And just on the Macomb Loop, we got some very good pricing on our water line installation. Part of that reason was because they're working throughout the winter. If they were gonna start in June, when they're competing with all their other projects, it would have been much more expensive for us to do what we're doing. Online permitting, the planning department's been working to modernize the town's permitting process through the implementation of online permitting. The first department is set to go live. It actually went live today. So building permits you can get online.
Amazing.
My guess, and I've seen this with other communities, it takes a while to get the bugs out, but we've started the process and, be patient and we will, once it's up and running, once we get going, it's gonna be a good thing, not just for the town, but for the residents and contractors using it, so. Baby
Thanks
steps,
to the
we're
building
moving
department
forward.
personnel.
Been at
Yes,
that for 20 years, for God's sake.
I know.
Been trying.
there's a lot of work that goes into
Yeah.
changing from paper permits to online permitting. You really need to change everything so it's accessible online. They put quite a bit of time into this.
Well, I think they gotta start loading all that stuff in and all that, and it's being an issue.
Working the bugs out.
Those old paper records, where do we archive all that stuff when we're done with it?
So they have it in a closet, right? It's, going forward, everything will be scanned in, so it'll be more accessible. I know the Board of Health, just with their grant, they're scanning in all their old stuff, all their septic plans and all their testing stuff, water testing, so that'll all be, it should be pretty much done now, but that's coming. The older stuff is more difficult. Just even finding some of the old stuff is difficult, but going forward, everything should be scanned in.
Nice.
Better for everybody. That's all I have.
Okay, the minutes of February 10.
I have reviewed them and move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Report on the bill warrant.
You have that in front of you in hard copy this week. Just
Wow.
noted a few things here. To let you know I'm doing a good job here, and secondly, to kind of give you some flavor as to what some of these items are. Grants stand out. Interestingly, it shows up as an expense, and you might be saying, well, why is it here as an expense? So I talked to Joanne Landry in the accounting office, and she said, the way it works is, in the end, this is money coming our way, but you account for it and then you expend it. And that's why it shows up here initially, and then the money gets dispersed to whatever the grant was for. So it's sort of an oddity, it's just sort of a convention of accounting, of municipal accounting, because everything has to be accounted for. It's sort of like in a staging area, it's waiting to go someplace next. But in the meantime, it appears as an expense until we expend the money and then it zeroes out. So that's what, in case you were curious, that's why it's there. But everything's in order.
Just a quick thing on those grants. We've requested that any grants that we have now, especially federal grants, that we're seeking reimbursement quickly. We used to do it on a quarterly basis, so every 6 months. Now we're doing it monthly, and on this water line grant, as soon as I get the bills, we're submitting them for reimbursement, so
Good
we're
thinking.
just trying to.
Yep.
We're all up to
top of
date
it.
on that, right? They're getting the money to them and everything, and
They're all paid, yep, they're up to date, and the reimbursements, we just got a bill, I think, for 700,000, that went in.
it comes in quick, too.
That went up the next day, so hopefully we get that in the next week or so.
All right, thank
But we
you.
don't want to happen like happened with the hospitals with French over there. And he had to walk off the job and line up all his equipment. Hospitals they were doing.
All right, so the liaison committee reports and suggestion for future agenda. Manning?
I'm all set at this time.
Just, I don't know if you got a chance to see it today, but yeah, they really boogied fast today. They had the median open and they were right behind filling it with the skid steers today, so they're really being efficient, if you will, getting that work done and cutting the side streets. I mean, there is, a little bit of inconvenience for the neighbors, but
You got
it's
the
one of the fastest I've seen.
They got well, they knew it was gonna be easy. They got the concrete in the side, cutting
Right.
the sides, but
So, but I mean, they're really moving at a good
he
pace.
said he would've had it done before the end of the year if he was able to start.
Because it permits, yep. So, all right, otherwise than that, no, as you know, I faded off most of the committees. We haven't got our committees in Boston yet, so I hope to find out on economic development and whatnot soon. Only have 2 meetings left with y'all, so
Oh, wow. 2 meetings.
I don't get pneumonia in between.
Don't get pneumonia. For me, some of you probably saw, we had an offshore wind committee meeting on Thursday. It was very well attended in the high school. It was a good thing we had it in the high school auditoriums. I don't know how many people were there, but it was a lot. We had some pro-wind groups there kind of protesting and some anti-wind groups there protesting, so it was kind of a big turnout. The meeting, the purpose of the meeting was to have Vineyard Wind come answer questions about the project. But the message from Vineyard Wind is they do not want to come to Westport and they have no intention to come to Westport. So a lot of people didn't believe them, and we are still listed as an alternate site.
That's why we formed the committee, to stay on top.
But they pretty much their answer in any way you could possibly say it was they don't intend to come to Westport.
Well,
So
on the connection, the connection, looks like everybody's gonna head to Connecticut, where they got the connection into the grid. But they are in Westport, it's just not on ours. You can see it from Westport, so
yeah,
that's our impact.
but that's not their project that you
No.
can see out
The
there.
other
That's
one,
in
Vineyard.
Revolution.
And just so you know, that video's uploaded now. For some reason, it took a day or two. It's 2.5-hour watch, so your meeting.
I was there.
Almost as
This
bad as
wasn't
a
my
planning
meeting.
board
Jake McWiggin chaired that meeting.
Yeah,
It was-
I'm just saying, it was 2.5 hours, if anybody wants to watch it.
I didn't find it, I mean, it was interesting, but it was like, there's only so many ways you can say, we don't intend to come to Westport, and there's only so much to say,
I
you
think
don't really believe
I
it.
was there for an hour and a half, and I thought I got all I needed out of the meeting.
Yeah,
So is Revolution going to Falmouth, or they're going to Connecticut?
I don't know.
Everything's
I
on
don't know.
hold with Trump, though.
No, nothing,
Well, you got the
they're all
windmills
still
up.
being
They're gonna
built.
be running that
The
cable.
Vineyard Wind One project, which obviously is the one that had the windmill, the wind turbine,
Turbines, yeah. Disaster.
they are in the process of replacing all of those blades. That's Vineyard Wind One. Vineyard Wind Two is the one that had the potential landfall in Westport. There are many other leases out there with multiple different providers, so it is possible that somebody else will have the idea to come to Westport, but Connecticut. Huh?
All new leases are gonna be stopped.
We'll see when they're stopped. The New London has got a lot going for it. For one, the New London people want them there and are asking for them to come there. And the second, there's a really good station for them to land at there, to go.
Yeah,
into
they're
the
not
grid.
going up a river, and, I
Yeah.
mean, we don't want to dredge the Secana.
Well, and they have the facility to land it there and process the power into the
Those
grid.
urban rivers that you don't want
It's
to, you
also
want
a
to leave
very
that, yeah.
industrial area.
It's an industrial area, they're not getting a lot of backlash, so we'll see. But any kind of question that was asked about, what about the economics of these projects now? Given the uncertainty of federal grants, they're all, basically, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. So that was the only meeting that I had lately. Dick?
Not a lot on my end, but they're coming up soon. Anyway, we did get word that the town audit has been completed.
Nice.
We don't actually have it in hand. Sue mentioned that they have to sign for it or something. But we'll have it in a few days, and then we'll set up a meeting of the audit committee and report back into you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Craig?
Affordable Housing Trust met last week. Good discussion. We went into executive to talk about some of the responses to our RFP. We decided, not non-judgmentally, but that we would still continue to keep the RFP available and would accept any more applications from property owners that may be looking to sell land to the town for affordable housing development. And so that's, where that sits. The opioid settlement advisory committee also met last week, and it was probably the second meeting of the committee. So the committee's getting organized, good discussions. We are using it as a combination of a decision-making body and a educational body. And so there were some good presentations. We had 2 presentations at the meeting last week. So.
All right, thank you. Do we have any comments and statements from the public? Seeing none, just a reminder to everybody, we have a lot of board and commission openings. If you see even if you don't see a vacancy, there might be room, so come talk to someone if you're interested in serving. We don't have any topics not reasonably anticipated under 48 hours. We're about to go into executive session. We're gonna come in to open only to adjourn. So I will entertain a motion pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, where the chair declares an open meeting will have a detrimental effect to teams discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with Teamsters Local 251, and to approve the minutes of February 10, 2025.
So move, Stephen Willett.
Second, Richard Brewer.
All in favor?
Manny Saw's aye.
Aye, Steve Willett.
I, Shawna Tease.
Hi, Richard Brewer.
Hi, Craig Dutra.
All right, we are in executive session.